Later, the Air Force called it a weather balloon, but a secret government report made public years later described the recovery of 4 tiny bodies from the Roswell crash site. And ever since then, there have been hundreds of reported sightings. However, the Air Force shut down Project Blue Book, concluding, quote, "No evidence has been found that any of the UFO reports reflect a threat to our national security."
Well, there's science fact and there's science fiction. To help separate the two, we go now to a man who spent years studying the threat from these massive meteors. Arthur C. Clarke, the noted author of 2001 and dozens of other books, was recently nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. He joins us now live from his home in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Dr. Clarke, thanks for being with us.
My pleasure.
Dr. Clarke, as far back as 1973, in your book Rendezvous with Rama, you wrote about the threat from near-Earth asteroids. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
There are those who believe tonight's impacts may have some connection to extraterrestrials. What's your view?
Well, I believe there's plenty of intelligent life out there in space, but actual visitors, very unlikely, despite the claims of the UFO enthusiasts.
Why is that?
Well, we've been sending out radio, radar signals for 50 years. They now fill a volume of space 100 light years across, but we haven't had any reply.
Well, UFO advocates would say that you have had replies, but that the government just isn't telling.
Nonsense. I'd give any saucer gate about 24 hours to unravel. And apart from the broadcast transmissions, NASA has made attempts to send messages to any possible civilization in space using the Voyager space probes.
I understand you have a copy there of the disc they sent out on Voyager 2.
Yes, a record like this, carrying pictures and messages from the peoples of Earth and from the United Nations.
Well, if they're out there and we sent them a beacon, so to speak, why wouldn't they answer?
I'm afraid it's a function of time and space. The distance between advanced civilizations may be thousands of light years, so even if they were traveling at the speed of light, it might take them several millennia to get here.
But just for the sake of argument, say it was possible.
All right, and the question is, why bother to come here? For the Earth to be chosen, we must assume we're rather special. But looking at the primitive state of our civilization, I think that's very conceited.
So what are you saying?
Well, there's a much bigger issue at stake. The need to protect ourselves against rogue asteroids, which are very real and pose a much bigger threat to Earth.
Thank you, Dr. Clarke. That was scientist and author Arthur C. Clarke speaking to us from Sri Lanka.
We go to Lourdes, France, where correspondent Paul Whitaker has an update on the condition of Jean-Paul Junard, the French skier who survived the second impact.
I'm here at Julian Airport near Lourdes, France, where just moments ago doctors airlifted Jean-Paul Junard to the Colombert Burn Center in Nice. We spoke to Junard's wife Sylvie just moments before they departed.
No, pas maintenant.
What is your husband's condition, please?
He was trying to tell me, I don't know, maybe how he survived. I just don't know. But Jean-Paul is strong and he will not give up. C'est tout, je vais m'en aller.
In the meantime, Air France has suspended all flights in and out of Rome, where these bizarre radio signals threaten to paralyze one of Europe's busiest airports. This is Paul Whitaker, Evening World News, Julian Airport near Lourdes, France.
Wyoming police have widened the area of evacuation to some 200 miles around impact site Alpha. And we're about to go live to correspondent Robert Marino near... No, I'm sorry, we're not going there. We're not. We've just received word of an unscheduled briefing at the White House. Correspondent Mike Curtis is standing by. Mike?
Sandy, a formal briefing had been scheduled for 11 p.m. tonight to coincide with local news broadcasts, but moments ago the White House press corps was summoned here for what's being described as a high-priority briefing. Press Secretary Barbara Schiller, that must be her now. Barbara? Barbara, one question, please.
Earlier tonight, following the impact of 3 meteor fragments, President Clinton directed NASA to begin around-the-clock monitoring of all near-Earth asteroids with the potential of penetrating the atmosphere. At approximately 9:17 p.m., the Air Force's geodes tracking stations at Socorro, New Mexico, Maui, Hawaii, and Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean detected the presence of what appears to be a second asteroid. At 65 meters or 200 feet in length, it is on a trajectory almost identical to the path of 6645 Venturi. The radio telescope at Arecibo, Puerto Rico, locked on, and they confirm that the object is heading toward the Earth at an airspeed of 32,000 miles per hour. The expected impact in the area of the polar ice cap is some 5 minutes from now. At 9:52 p.m. Eastern Time, the President and Joint Chiefs of Staff ordered units of the 388th Fighter Wing from Hill Air Force Base in Utah to a full alert. A pair of F-16 fighters from the 18th Space Surveillance Squadron were ordered into the air on a Defense Condition 2 status. The planes are armed with Hawk optically guided missiles capable of destroying the asteroid before impact. These missiles are tipped with 2-kiloton low-yield nuclear warheads. The F-16s are expected to be in target range at approximately 10:16, is 4 minutes from now.
Barbara.
Mario, yes.
Barbara, how can the president possibly justify the use of nuclear weapons?
Well, a panel from the National Academy of Sciences met tonight, and their conclusion was that if the asteroid penetrated the ice cap, then the consequences to the Earth's ecological balance could be absolutely catastrophic. So.
What about the radio signals jamming air traffic? How will that affect the F-16's launch?
It is our understanding that the traffic is affected only along the 45th parallel. Yes, 45th parallel. Yes, Michelle.
Did the president consult Congress?
The president did speak with leaders of both houses earlier this evening. Yeah.
And what about other world leaders?
Russian President Boris Yeltsin and Chinese Premier Deng Xiaoping have been informed. Both leaders have expressed their consent, as has the chairman of the UN Security Council. Let me just tell you one other thing, and that is that the missile hardware that is to be used is identical to that which was deployed so successfully in the Gulf War. That's all that we have.
There's word just in that the event will be monitored live at the Johnson Space Center. They're deciding whether or not to give the media access to the feed. But NASA, which has been quite quiet throughout much of this crisis, now seems to be opening up. Matt Jensen's live in Houston. Why the sudden turnaround?
Sandy, no one here wants to openly break ranks with the White House or the Pentagon. But there are a number of scientists who are unsure about the use of nuclear weapons. Among them, Dr. Kurt Loudon, who we spoke with earlier. Doctor, what is your concern?
Simply this. With an incoming projectile moving at 50 times the speed of sound, a close-quarters air engagement may be quite ineffective. Also, the prospect of a nuclear burst over the ice cap may produce consequences even more dire for the Earth's ecology.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the point being, Sam,
NASA will be monitoring U.S. Strategic Command Offutt Air Force Base, Omaha, Nebraska. We will be listening to the voice of Air Force Launch Control Officer Major Scotty Powers. You will be allowed to stay.
That was Dale Powell, the Director of Community Relations here for NASA. He has just told the press that we will be allowed to stay here in the Operations Center where they will be monitoring the F-16s. So we'll be back when the missiles are ready to be launched.
Doctor, there's late word from New York, where the United Nations Security Council has gone into special session. Correspondent Ernie Anastas is outside UN headquarters.
Excuse me, could you tell me why you're here tonight?
To let the world leaders know that if we are being visited, if the asteroids represent some kind of contact, then the world should respond in peace.
Ambassador, what action will the Council take?
In the event of the unthinkable, and these are indeed extraterrestrials, we'll try and formulate an agenda for receiving them.
Personally, I don't care if it's asteroids or aliens. The most important thing is to keep our families safe, keep our homes safe. If they come to Brooklyn, we'll know what to do.
And I come down here with my boys from SUNY College. Figure maybe we could find us some aliens, smack some heads.
Why so hostile?
You kidding me? I got a brother flies for the airlines. Now, if these things are messing with air traffic, we got to stop them.
The two fighters that took off from Hill Air Force Base in Utah will be designated Interceptor 1 and Interceptor 2. We go back now to Mission Control at the Johnson Space Center.
Sandy, we're at T-minus 52 seconds and counting here. You'll be seeing 3 pictures up on that active matrix display. On the furthest screen is a feed from the tracking station at Socorro, New Mexico, showing the incoming asteroid. The middle screen will be a graphic showing the 2 F-16s and the asteroid in relation to the North Pole. And the image on the far left is from a camera mounted in the cockpit of Interceptor 1.
T-minus 30 seconds.
That's Major Scotty Powers, the Air Force Launch Control Officer.
Enable warheads.
Warhead enable.
Confirm. Lock on guidance.
Roger. Radar lock. 2's locked.
Prepare to fire, then egress left. Cleared to fire in 3, 2, 1, engage. Come on home, boys. 10 seconds to contact. 8, 7.
What the hell was that?
6.
I-2, Johnny.
5. We're losing video on India 1, India 2. Do you copy? We have contact.
It seems like we've had a direct hit on the asteroid, but there's some concern here that we've lost the image of the cockpit.
You copy. Say again. Okay, now we've lost the return of both India 1 and India 2.
Dale.
India 1, India 2.
Dale, what happened to the image here on the in the cockpit?
I have no comment. I don't know. We saw exactly what I saw.
Was it a hit on the asteroid? Do we have any information?
I have no comment.
Come in.
Dale, what happened to the pilots? People are watching here.
John.
Maui, come in.
India 1, India 2.
Dale, you have to let us know. Did we lose pilots on this or not? Were the pilots shot down?
At 10:16 p.m., some 4 seconds before the asteroid was destroyed, the transponder signals from the 2 F-16s went off the radar screens.
At the same time, the sounds we've been hearing from the craters were heard in the F-16's transmissions.
The 2 pilots, Air Force Captain Charles Reichheiser, 32, and Major John Pastorelli, 36, both of Hill Air Force Base, are missing and presumed dead. The nuclear submarine USS Houston, which surfaced at the polar ice cap, has reported seeing debris consistent with the afterburner of an F-16. Search teams are racing to the scene from Gander, Newfoundland. Now to the Pentagon, where the Air Force is about to conduct a briefing on what they're calling defensive engagement with the meteor. The postmortem will be handled by Deputy Undersecretary of Defense Norbert Hazelton and General Lucian Alexander, U.S. Air Force Chief of Staff.
Let me say at the outset that we are deeply grieved over the loss of 2 outstanding Air Force pilots. But they gave their lives so that we can stand here tonight and report a near-perfect mission profile. I want to stress that the warhead loads were extremely low yield. Any trace radiation should dissipate in the atmosphere within a matter of days. All radio signals from Wyoming, France, and Mongolia have ceased once again. There is every reason to believe that what the people of the Earth experienced was a natural phenomenon.
General Alexander, how can you attribute this to natural phenomenon when we all saw the glow inside the cockpit?
Just a lens flare. At airspeeds like that, with the light conditions over the pole, the cockpit array throws off a number of video spikes.
Okay, but wait, what about the trajectory? All right, come on, 6645 Venturi and the same asteroid, the latest one, they were on the identical path.
Not surprising. It's not surprising. It's quite possible they were both part of the same source asteroid. No, the pieces simply split in deep space and came in online.
I'll tell you one thing, ladies and gentlemen. If there was ever an argument for jump-starting the anti-missile defense shield, this is it. We were lucky tonight. Good shooting, great hardware. The next time, it might be a different story.
Next time, General? What do you suggest? There's going to be a next time?
That anti-missile shield the General was talking about, of course, is the Star Wars system, a favorite of President Reagan's, put on the shelf when President Clinton came into power.
Sandy, the Air Force F-16 jet carrying Dr. Avram Mandel has touched down in Houston. He's about to arrive at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, and Matt Jensen is there live. Matthew?
Carolyn, any minute now, that door behind me will open, and a man who has been something of an enigma in all this will arrive and speak with me.
There he is.
Here he comes.
Dr. Michelle, who's meeting today?
Make sure you're meeting here.
Are you going to stop the You have to be here in person.
Any comment on the action over the pole?
Tell us something.
Actually, I do have a comment. The action